Frankfurt American Alumni Radio. As of March 28th, which is today, March 28th is a Saturday here in Frankfurt, Germany. The sun is shining and it seems very surreal because, of course, just like the rest of the world, we over here in Germany, your alumni brethren, your Frankfurt Milcom and military fam over here, Lynn and myself, we are also being stressed out and taken aback, and our life has been slowed down and all of that stuff because of this COVID-19 virus that is remarkably just overpowering everything, and even the economy here in Germany and everything else, because as of March 23rd, 2020, the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, she issued the no contact ban. That was on a Monday. As the contact ban kicks in all over Germany, and during that time, her reason for doing this was because there was 29,000 plus people, supposed cases here in the country, that led to her calling for this quarantining of the public and putting restrictions on the public as far as how far you need to stand away from each other, and what businesses will be closed and what businesses can stay open. There were at least 29,000 plus on March 23rd. So that's about 5 days ago as of this Frankfurt American Alumni Radio show. And it says here that there might be one glimmer of hope, though, for the first time since it all started. According to the Robert Koch Institute in Berlin, the number of cured Germans is rising, but it's hard or even impossible to track that number reliably because hospitals and doctors are not, do I have your attention? Are not required to report healed patients. So with that said, I wanted to bring you into the conversation here. I don't want to be monologuing the whole time I'm on the mic. How are you feeling today, Lynn? Is everything going good as far as, the quarantine goes?
I feel healthy, so that's the best thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I also want to say that what we want to do is just give you as much information as we can. And so for anyone that's expecting some sound bites or something like that for this particular show about the COVID-19 virus here in Germany, and more specifically for us because we live in Frankfurt, here in Hessen, and that's the county that Frankfurt's in. And with that in mind, we just wanted you to know it's going to be detailed, informative, and hopefully enlightening. So Lynn has some information that has been compiled. And if you would, Lynn, would you please just go ahead and start giving everyone the lowdown?
Okay, I'm going in chronological order of starting back in January.
Sounds good. That sounds good. January what?
January 16th.
January 16th. So February, March, that's over 2.5 months ago.
It is.
Yeah, so good stuff.
A Chinese lady in Shanghai welcomes her parents from the Wuhan region.
Mm-hmm.
That was on January 16th. On January 19th, 2020, the same Chinese woman flies to Germany to work with her colleagues at a company in the Bavarian town of Stockdorf. Neither does she know she is infected, nor does she have symptoms. On January 21st, she, with a German colleague, takes part in a workshop. Then on January 22nd, the German Foreign Ministry updates its travel warnings on China twice. The next day, January 23rd, the visitor from China takes her return flight to Shanghai. On the way, she feels sick. So the next day, which is Friday, January 24th, a Bavarian man who took part in that workshop where the Chinese woman also took part in feels sick. He suffers from a sore throat, high temperature, and muscle pain. On that same day, the German Health Ministry in Berlin says there's no reason for unease or alarmism because of the coronavirus. Germany was prepared. At major airports, staffers are looking for any signs of sickness on incoming passengers from China.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention for all those who may not be familiar with the territory of the German Republic, when Lynn says in the Bavarian area, that's in the region where Munich is located. München, Germans say München, and Garmisch is down there in those areas. Augsburg is down there in those areas, in that area. Anything else? I mean...
No, it's a state of Germany because Germany is divided up into several different states. So Bavaria is a state of Germany.
And that's the region as far as landmarks or Stadt, cities and stuff like that.
Neuschwanstein.
Yeah, that's the beautiful castle that everyone knows of, which Walt Disney designed the castle at Disneyland from. Neuschwanstein?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that about Bavaria, just to make sure people's bearings are right, because some people haven't been here in a while, Lynn.
I understand.
Okay.
So the Bavarian man who felt sick, that was on January 24th, 2020. 2 days later, on January 26th, the man feels a lot better. But the Chinese lady who went back to Shanghai, tested positive for the coronavirus. And on a side note, on that day, the Berlin Health Ministry says that it fears panic more than it fears the virus itself. So on the 27th of January, the Chinese woman who tested positive informs the company she works for in Bavaria about her coronavirus infection. And her German colleague, one of her German colleagues, is tested positive also, and that is the first confirmed case in Germany, January 27th.
Okay, January 27th.
The woman, she had contacted an employee in Germany, the Chinese woman, that she had coronavirus on January 27th. The next day, January 28th, 3 more employees from her company in Bavaria also tested positive. So on January 28th, there was 4 cases of coronavirus.
So let me ask you on that note, does it seem like that makes any sense? So many people got infected. I mean, this is allegedly, because none of us was there. I wasn't there, you wasn't there, none of the listeners were there, that people became so infected within such a short amount of time. 3 more employees of the same Bavarian company, 2 men and 1 woman, became positive. So what could have taken place? She sneezed. She didn't wash her hands.
Well, it does make sense if you believe what they say on how you can get the coronavirus, because all you have to do supposedly is talk to somebody from a from a normal distance of how you talk to somebody. And if you talk to them for, let's say, 15 minutes, they say, or longer, then just from speaking, you can already pass the virus on, you know. You don't even have to spit on them or sneeze on them, but from speaking, or if you shake hands, they probably shook hands, you know. So according to what we're told by the mainstream media, that makes sense to me, that it could spread like that. That one day one colleague's infected and the next day 4 is infected. Because maybe the Chinese woman didn't do anything but infect the one colleague, but that one colleague infected 3 other people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. But people that are supposedly infected, being that toxic, to me that would be a toxicity to the point to where if you're standing around someone, let's say 15 minutes, did you say 15 minutes speaking, that they're so toxic that other people are getting the virus from them, I guess because of saliva that's coming out of their mouth, or what is it? It's absolutely amazing.
I think it's the same as when you have a cold. I've been at work before and felt good, and somebody had a cold, and maybe I still gave them a hug or you know, because sometimes we're affectionate as colleagues. We give each other a kiss on the cheek or say bye or give a hug. And then next thing I know, I'm not feeling so hot. To me, it's like a cold.
Well, that's exactly what's said about the symptoms. They said that the symptoms are equal to a cold. You have a cough, you have you feel a little bit weak, you might feel a little cold as far as getting the chills or what have you. You know, a flu, a cold. That and that's it. It's not like you start bleeding from some orifice, or you start,
right.
Pus coming out of your ears, or perhaps you foaming at the mouth like one who would do, with rabies or something like that, or like animal. So that's why it's so confusing. And on top of that, and then I'll digress, with the doctors and the mainstream media talking about people should not wear masks in the public because there's no need to worry about it. If I don't know if anyone out there has read these articles or heard these type of reports about all of these doctors saying that it's pointless for people to be walking around with masks on their face unless they're sick, unless they have the virus. And then at the same time, they say that the virus, everyone is walking around with it. They could be walking around with it. Correction. They could be walking around with it, and it remains dormant in the body. It could remain dormant from around 14 days, and no one even knows that they're sick. They don't have any symptoms at all.
It's totally confusing because there are people who have tested positive for the virus, and they don't have anything wrong with them. They don't have no fever. They don't have any coughing. They don't have anything. It's very confusing.
Well,
and
you had a friend, right?
You
had a friend that...
A girlfriend of my friend has tested positive, and she was complaining because she said she doesn't have anything. She's tested positive, but she doesn't have even a fever, Her and her whole family, her 2 kids and her husband. So it's either a false positive or it just takes hold differently in different people, I really don't know, but there's so much contradicting information out there
from officials.
Yes, that it's hard to know what to believe. I don't think wearing a mask is necessary unless you are sick or unless you're older and have some precondition like a heart attack, or you've had something that's weakened your immunity system. I don't think it's necessary because those masks, especially those paper ones, they don't last very long either. They don't work very long. And you have to be very careful when you pull your mask up also, I heard the other day, because all these germs that you've been spewing out while wearing this mask, when you take the mask off, you don't want to contaminate the area you're in,
Flick it out to the public, huh?
Yes, that's what the doctor was saying, or even flick it out on yourself, Mm-hmm. So it's all confusing. I don't wear a mask. I don't think it's necessary. You know, I always have a scarf on if I feel the need to cover up my nose or mouth for any reason, and it's usually because of smell, then I do it with that, you know.
Yeah, and I don't wear a mask either, by the way, in case someone was wondering. I'm not the least bit concerned about getting sick from this. But please continue. We stopped at January 28th because,
Right.
you know, I know we can elaborate on, because there's been so much going on since this time frame. So where did you leave off January 28th?
Yes, there were 4 cases on the 28th. 3 coming from that same company, 2 men and 1 woman tested positive. On the 29th, Lufthansa cancels all flights to and from China except Hong Kong until February 9th or further notice. So then, the next day, January 30th, another employee from that same company in Bavaria tested positive.
And that's very bizarre.
Several suspected cases are reported in several federal states within Germany.
And these are not old people. And according to the mainstream media and all the officials, people that are elderly are able to get the coronavirus much easier than those that are not elderly.
Well, it's also, you got to think, it's also winter time, and I think
It's spring now, but back
yes,
then, on January 30th.
and that's what
yeah.
we're talking about, was winter time. And I think people's immunity systems are generally lower in the winter, you know, for several reasons. And so maybe it's quicker to get a virus, because if your immunity system is great, I think it can fight off a virus to where you don't test positive.
Well, absolutely.
Just a speculation on my
Absolutely, and that's
part.
why I'm wondering, how come there's not any discussion about strengthening one's immunity system? Why not talk about gut floral foods that strengthen your immune system? Vitamin C, 3,000 milligrams a day we can have. So much that they could be talking about, but as far as getting everyone healthy, but I don't see any officials anywhere in the mainstream media from any country that's talking about that.
Yeah, the most they talk about, and that's not officials, that's just extra doctors who go on the radio or on TV. They just talk about how to get your exercise, get movements in, you know, if you can't go outside. Because some places you're not allowed to go outside, but we're allowed to go outside. We can get exercise if we want, you know, outside. Can't go to the gym. So, shall I continue?
Of course.
So
Whenever
we
you're
left
ready.
off on January 30th. There was 5 cases. On January 31st, one of the 3 children of the man who tested positive on January 30th is infected. Also, his wife and other 2 children have flu-like symptoms as well, but they test negative. And an additional employee of that company, which should really just have closed down at that point, also was being tested positive. So on January 31st, it went up 2 more cases. The cases were at 7. Then on February 1st, another employee of that same company in Bavaria becomes a confirmed corona case. And they also mention that in Spain, an additional German citizen tests positive, but he was being treated in Spain, so the case is not counted for Germany. And also on February 1st, 124 Germans and other nationals were evacuated from Wuhan, China by the German Air Force. And I remember that in the news. So on the 2nd of February, 2 of the evacuees from Wuhan were tested positive as well. And most of them were taken to a German town called Germersheim. And these people from China, these German nationals that worked in China, were quarantined there for at least 2 weeks. So Germany's health minister sees a dynamic situation and criticized conspiracy theories related to the coronavirus that was spreading on the internet. The number of cases on the February 2nd was at 10. So it went up from 8 cases on February 1st to 10 cases on February 2nd.
And Germersheim, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, I think Germersheim.
Germersheim, for those who are wondering, is in between Mannheim and Karlsruhe. It's south of Frankfurt.
And I remember that in the news when they brought back these people from China, how they quarantined them. And I think it was on an old German military base or compound. The next day, which was February 3rd, another 2 people in Bavaria, namely another employee from that company, from the same company, and a second child of one of the individuals confirmed positive, were also being tested positive for the virus. In China, the number of infected officially stands at 20,400. That was on February 3rd. And 425 of those people, of the infected, have died. Also on February 3rd, Lufthansa, Swiss Airlines, and Austrian Airlines announced they would not be flying to Beijing or Shanghai until February 29th, 2020. A few days before, they had canceled those flights until February 9th, but now it was extended to February 29th. But Hong Kong can still be flown. For whatever reason, the virus didn't really get to Hong Kong, which is strange.
Of course. I mean, look how toxic and contagious the woman was down in Bavaria that got it started over here in Germany. Yeah. How in the world can Hong Kong... That makes no sense whatsoever. And up until just recently, here on March 28th, 2020, up until just recently, and I would say 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, China was still leading the world with alleged confirmed COVID-19 cases. China was still leading the world. As of a couple days ago, the USA took over that slot, and currently, by the way, according to the mainstream media, there's over 100,000 people in the United States with confirmed cases. Of course, there have been many people who have recovered. That's rarely talked about. And as we mentioned earlier, that's not even something that's required to be kept here in Germany. The recovered cases, people who recover.
Right.
So, and underneath that, United States, we have Italy. I believe Italy's number 2, and then 3 is China, 4, but I think it's Spain, and then Germany is number 5. Germany is number 5 as of March 28th, 2020.
And I can imagine why Italy was number 2, because a lot of people don't know, but I found out recently by watching a documentary that there's a lot of Chinese people who work in Italy for fashion. They moved their whole production companies from China to Italy so they can label their clothes as made in Italy so they can sell for more money, because because of that, I am convinced that that's how Italy, how it spread in Italy like it did. At first I was surprised, but then I thought about it, because there's some towns that are almost all Chinese now in Italy. I just wanted to add that.
That's very interesting.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. I left off on February 3rd, where there was 12 cases of coronavirus. And on February 14th, according to German language media, there were 8 Germans that were stuck on a cruise ship. I remember this, outside of Japan, of the Japanese city of Yokohama, along with 2,658 passengers and about 1,000 crew members from other nations. And they were quarantined because the coronavirus, it was thought that it might be spreading on the ship. So they were quarantined in front of Japan on that ship. And on February 4th, the Foreign Ministry in Berlin also warned Germans of trips to Wuhan and advised citizens against trips to China, except for journeys to the special administrative regions in Hong Kong and Macau.
And by the way, Where is this information coming from? You were talking about a great website from over here in Berlin, Germany. From what's the name of it?
Berlin Spectator.
The Berlin Spectator.
Yeah, but if you type it in, it's Berlin Spectator, no the.
Okay.
BerlinSpectator.com. And it's a website in English about Germany. Politics, culture, everything.
Website in English about Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Also, while we're mentioning that great website, there's another one that you can look at, and that's the local.de.
Right. That's also very good.
Yeah. In the information description area for this upload will be links to both of these publications for you, and a bit extra.
Extra meat.
Yeah. Some potatoes as well. Some schnitzel.
Well, the next day is February 5th, 2020, and scientists at the Institute of Virology at Berlin's Charité Hospital and the Institute for Microbiology at the Bundeswehr, which is the German military, Germany's armed forces, reportedly come to the conclusion that the coronavirus can be contagious even when the patient's symptoms are minor. They also found out that the virus multiplies not only in the patient's lungs, but also in their throats and digestive tract.
That sounds real nasty.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds real nasty. That sounds like something that would be in an old Alfred Hitchcock movie or a feature on Twilight Zone or something like that. Unsolved Mysteries, Sliders, Star Trek, an episode of Star Wars. Go ahead. Yeah.
That was good. I was waiting for a few more. So the next day after that was February 6th. And on that day, Bavaria confirmed the 13th coronavirus case in Germany. And the patient was the wife of one of the patients confirmed a few days before that. And two of her children also had the virus. So these people from this particular company in Bavaria where the Chinese lady worked at before she went back to China, they just kind of gave it to all their family members. It seems like to their other colleagues, it was like the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh God, I tell you, you're in the wrong profession. You're in the wrong profession.
I'm not trying to be funny,
That's
but
hilarious.
it seems like everything
That's hilarious.
centered around this one particular company.
Oh,
And that's why I said, I don't know why they just didn't close down, after the fifth case, just stay closed for a few weeks. So on February 7th, the wife of a Bavarian employee of I don't think it's the same company, of another company, becomes the 14th confirmed coronavirus case in Germany. So far, 12 of the 14 cases in Germany are connected to that company. Okay, so it was from the same company called Webasto. So 12 of the 14 cases were connected to that company since a lady from China who did not know about her infection took part in that workshop I talked about with her colleagues.
I'm starting to smell something that needs to be carried out as rubbish. I mean, that is very unusual, don't you think? I mean, this is very interesting. It's enlightening, but this is starting to become controversial and something that I think I might spend a little bit more time on investigating once we conclude this.
Yeah, I understand that, because you can best believe that whatever is being told to us on the mainstream media is, let's say it's all true. It's only a fourth at the most, I would say, of what lies beneath that we are not being told, Yeah.
Yeah. Would you do me the favor and just repeat that again? I just want to hear you say that again.
I forgot.
No, I'm talking about what you were gathering from your information.
The wife of a Bavarian employee of the company becomes the 14th confirmed coronavirus in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The company is called Webasto. I didn't say that.
Webasto.
Webasto.
Webasto. Okay, Webasto.
She is being treated at this hospital in Munich. So far, 12 of the 14 cases in Germany are connected to that company, since a lady from China who did not know about her infection took part in a workshop with colleagues. Germany intends to evacuate more of its citizens from Wuhan, along with Austrians and nationals of Luxembourg. This time, the evacuees might be put into quarantine in Berlin. According to German scientists, the virus can survive on surfaces, including door handles, for up to 9 days. In China, more than 31,100 people are infected with the coronavirus. The authorities say 636 patients had died, and that was on February 7th.
On that note, I wanted to mention I was correct about the cases in the United States for the coronavirus, COVID-19, globally, according to Johns Hopkins University in Medicine. They are doing a cooperations partner situation here with the Center for Systems Science and Engineering. The link will be in the uploads description. And according to this world map of total confirmed cases, as of March 2020, here during the afternoon, it's approaching about 2 o'clock here.
Say that again, please.
614,884 cases.
Over 500,000.
614,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 488. So that's the total world count there. And I was just looking yesterday because I was doing another report for another channel, and I saw that the actual count for the world, Lynn, is 7.7 billion as far as the population goes. 7.7 billion. Soon it'll be at 8 billion. Most of the population, of course, in the world is in China. But at the top of the chart right now with confirmed cases is the USA with 104,837. 104,837. Italy's number 2, 86,498. These are confirmed cases. China is at number 3 now, but they were at the top of the list of the heap for many, many weeks. But they're down to number 3 at 81,996 cases, and following China at the number 4 position is Spain at 72,248 cases, and right underneath Spain, coming in at number 5, unfortunately, is Germany with 53,340 confirmed cases.
And the cases don't go away once the patient is healed. That still counts as a case often. Am I correct?
You're probably right. I would imagine that's the type of mathematics that they're doing. Because here on the right-hand side, as far as Germany is concerned, I see 6,658 recovered cases.
But that still counts as confirmed cases. They just don't,
I
when they
understand.
talk about it, they don't say, oh, well, so many people have recovered, because it almost seems like we're supposed to feel all panicky and scared.
Certainly. Thank you for letting me get that out.
Frankfurt, American, Alumni, Radio.
Where do we leave off, Lynn?
We left off on February 9th, 2020, where 20 German evacuees and family members arrive in Berlin. They are being checked at the Red Cross, where they will have to stay in quarantine for at least 2 weeks. And the evacuees, they were on board a British plane chartered for British and other European citizens. Also on that day, at Brandenburg Gate, Chinese citizens living in Berlin commemorate Li Wenliang. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The doctor and whistleblower from Wuhan who died of the coronavirus on February 7th. So on February 9th, the number of coronavirus cases was still 14. On Monday, February 10th, Berlin's health senator, Dilek Kalikai, announces that none of the 20 new evacuees from Wuhan are infected with the coronavirus. We are relieved, she states. According to Kalikai, the 20 German evacuees in Berlin are well. The 16 adults and 4 children had been separated into groups and accommodated in 12 rooms with beds, TV, and Wi-Fi. They may leave the building and walk around in a fenced yard as long as they are in quarantine. So February 10th, there was still 14 cases of coronavirus. On February 12th, 2020, 2 more people from Bavaria, from that company in Bavaria, were tested positive. Like most other patients in Germany, they are connected to the company which hosted a workshop with a Chinese colleague on January 21st. The lady from Shanghai did not know she was infected, and she probably had no idea what she started over here. She had no clue. Health Minister Jens Spahn says checking the body temperatures of passengers at airports did not make sense because many infected individuals did not have symptoms. Like the friend of my girlfriend who has tested positive and has no symptoms.
Well, we touched on that. That's what we were saying.
Exactly.
That it lies dormant, supposedly, in the system.
Right.
Or should I say, it can lie for 14 days or more.
So the government in Berlin on the 12th intends to allocate 23 million euro for the fight against the coronavirus. That's about $25 million. I just wanted to say that because that was for February 12th.
All right. 23 million euro. I wonder what they will put that into.
Well, I have an article on the coronavirus package that they made yesterday, that they came to yesterday for different things. You know, the money package, which is over 150 billion. Or is it million? I'd have to check. I think it's 150 billion euro.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about the whole country. 150 million is nothing. We're talking about the whole country. And by the way, for those who are wondering what the size of Germany is, according to like every comparison I've read over the last 20 some odd years, Germany is about the size of Montana in the United States, the state of Montana.
Well, I can tell you if you give me a moment. I can
get
that article out.
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to, because actually you're doing quite well with this information that, again, is being provided from the Berlin Spectator. Of course, if you're online, it'll be Berlin Spectator, and there'll be a link in the description.
Mm-hmm. I just need to interrupt you for a second. It's 156 bill. I just looked.
Cheers.
That they are allocating for different things, for businesses and for different things being affected by this coronavirus.
All right. Okay. 156 billion euro. Yes. And it's going to be very interesting to see what that is going to be used for. It's, we'll keep you up to date as much as we can, on what transpires, or should I say, what becomes of Deutschland once the smoke clears, or so to say, once the COVID-19 virus gets taken down to the mat and has to tap out.
Oh, there's no end. There will be effects of this for a long time.
I don't know.
I hope not. That's not what I hope, but this is what I'm thinking. In some way or another, there's going to be people are going to shove everything off to the coronavirus. Oh, well, this didn't get done because of the coronavirus, or we couldn't do that because of the coronavirus.
Yes. It's going to be a huge scapegoat.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see clearly as well how that could happen, especially since we have been, as of the 23rd of this month of March 2020, we have been under lockdown. And so, as we both speak to you now, here on the 28th, that's been about 5 days. Why does it seem like it's been much longer?
Because we've been on lockdown.
And I guess on that note, I guess I should give out some respects to actually how well it seems that it is for us here. You know, the stores, the ability to go shopping still in the drugstores as well. You know, to pick up cosmetics or what have you. I guess it's been pretty good. I mean, if I compare what I've seen on the news,
It has. It's getting better. It's getting better. What might be happening is people are buying less bulk stuff, because that's the problem. People have been buying the stores out because they're scared. They want to make sure they got enough toilet paper, got enough canned goods for worst case scenarios. Yeah, so toilet paper is still a thing. You can't just grab toilet paper. So if I see toilet paper, I get it now, whether I need it or not. you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I know I shouldn't have opened that can up because I know it's gonna. But I guess that's okay. We can be unorthodox and get all and go into different subjects, different radiuses of this whole situation, because that's what this particular podcast is for. Here on March 28th, here in Frankfurt, Germany, Lynn and I want just to give you the lowdown.
And according to German language media reports, German evacuees from Wuhan who are in quarantine at a Berlin hospital say their situation was burdensome. This applied to both them and their helpers. The number of showers and toilets was insufficient, and the Red Cross stated then that any complaints would be taken seriously. 2 of those German evacuees who were infected and treated at a hospital in Frankfurt are being released. The doctors do not believe they are still contagious. In the meantime, the evacuees in Germersheim might be released soon. The health authorities will make a decision on Sunday. And this was Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. On February 15th, a total of 3 individuals who used to be infected with the virus are back home. They were released from hospitals in Frankfurt and Munich. And 2 Germans on board the cruise ship Diamond Princess, which was quarantined outside of Yokohama, Japan, were reportedly infected. So are 283 other passengers and crew members. So they're still hanging out in Japan on this ship. On Sunday, February 16th, they had more than 100 German evacuees and their families who spent 2 weeks at an Air Force base in Germersheim. They were released after one more round of corona tests. Then on February 20th, we skip 4 days to February 20th, the Red Cross announces that 20 Germans quarantined at a clinic in Berlin will be released on Sunday morning. They had been picked up in Wuhan by the British on February 8th and arrived in Berlin on the 9th. And Germans from the cruise ship Diamond Princess will reportedly be taken to Berlin within 2 days. The ship is located, as I'd already mentioned, at Yokohama Port in Japan. More than 640 people on board are infected with the virus. On February 21st, 15 more German evacuees from Wuhan arrive in Stuttgart. They are supposed to be quarantined for 2 weeks. Then the following day, February 22nd, 6 of the former passengers of the cruise ship Diamond Princess, which had been quarantined 2 weeks ago in Yokohama, Japan, arrive in Berlin on an Italian aircraft. They are supposed to be quarantined in their homes. Then on February 23rd, they talk about how the situation in Italy suddenly worsened substantially, with 3 coronavirus deaths and 117 people infected. The Italian authorities started cordoning off certain towns and canceling big events. Germans are asking themselves whether this is what they have to expect as well. So that's when it started in Italy.
On the 23rd.
Yeah. So a month and a week ago.
Of February, right.
So the very next day, Monday, February 24th, Germany's health minister, Jens Spahn, says the epidemic had arrived. He states he believes the coronavirus could spread in Germany as well, like in northern Italy, but the country was prepared. We will be vigilant, Spahn says. He promises the government would do anything to protect its citizens. Because of the worrisome situation in Italy, where towns in the north are being cordoned off due to the exploding number of coronavirus infections, Austria temporarily prohibits trains from there to enter the country. 2 German ladies with cold symptoms and fever are being removed from one of the last trains from Venice to Munich in Verona and tested at a hospital. And those tests turned out to be negative.
And for those who don't know, Austria borders Germany. Okay.
On the 25th of February, which was a Tuesday, it says, now the coronavirus seems to be spreading in Germany. 2 new cases are being reported in Erkelenz, that's North Rhine-Westphalia, the state of Germany called North Rhine-Westphalia. 1 patient is in the isolation ward of a hospital in critical condition. He is 47 years old. Further south, in Göppingen County, which is Baden-Württemberg, another man, age 25, tested positive. It looks like he got infected in Italy, in Milan. So Berlin's Interior Senator Andreas Geisel says the German capital or parts of it could be cordoned off in case the situation dictated measures of this kind. The disaster management was prepared. Geisel did admit it would not be easy to close off a city of 3.7 million inhabitants. Yeah, Berlin is huge. So now we're on Wednesday, February 26th. And it says a total of 7 new cases are being reported, including 2 patients who were tested positive on February 25th. A couple in North Rhine-Westphalia is among them. The woman is a nursery school teacher who was in contact with countless people, while the man, who was still in critical condition, took part in carnival event. Carnival meaning Mardi Gras. It's like German Mardi Gras time in February. And the health minister, Jens Spahn, orders the federal states to activate their pandemic plans while establishing a crisis management committee with the Interior Ministry. On February 27th, in the evening, 14 new cases were confirmed in North Rhine-Westphalia, a federal state in western Germany, and 4 more in Baden-Württemberg in the south. And then the Interior Minister, Horst Seehofer, says at a Berlin press conference, breaking chains of coronavirus infections in Germany and controlling those coming from abroad were the most important tasks right now. His colleague, Health Minister Jens Spahn, said the federal government's new task force had already convened once. Airlines, train operators, shipping and bus companies would now be required to provide information about the origin of all their passengers' journeys. The number of new coronavirus cases registered since Tuesday initially rises to 10, but increases to 28 in the evening. Berlin is preparing for a pandemic just in case. And this was on February 27th, 4 weeks ago. So February 28th, which is a Friday, they talk about how the travel trade fair is being canceled, the ITB. Up to 180,000 participants from all over the world had been expected. So that is canceled. A total of 30 new cases were reported since Tuesday. So in 3 days, 30 new cases. More than 1,000 Germans are in quarantine. Most of them are contact persons who took part in events with confirmed cases, who worked with them or visited hospitals the patients worked at. Since one of the coronavirus patients is a nursery school teacher, kindergarten kids and their families are affected too. The virus reaches Hamburg in the north, Freiburg in the south, and the federal state of Hesse, which is where Frankfurt's located. So far, in the morning of February 28th, there are no confirmed cases in eastern Germany, including Berlin. So on Saturday, February 29th, they say that within 4 days since February 25th, the number of coronavirus cases in Germany has exceeded 60. 37 of them were confirmed in North Rhine-Westphalia, the country's largest federal state. New ones in Hamburg, Bremen, Lower Saxony, and elsewhere have to be added to the list. Dozens of primary school children in Bonn are being tested and quarantined because one of their caregivers is infected. On March 1st, Sunday, it states that virtually all Western German provinces and city-states, around 100 people, are now infected with the coronavirus. In the late evening, the Berlin authorities say the first coronavirus patient had been put in quarantine in Berlin. So here, on Monday, March 2nd, there's 152 confirmed coronavirus cases. It says the number of cases has exceeded 150. North Rhine-Westphalia still has the largest infection cluster. In the meantime, the first coronavirus patient in Berlin is in quarantine at an isolation ward at the Virchow Clinic. The health authorities in the German capital are looking for his contact persons. 60 have been identified. It was quite an ordeal the patient went through. 2 more patients test positive in the evening. On March 3rd, it says there are now 180 confirmed coronavirus cases in Germany, including in Brandenburg, Saxony, regions that had been green on the virus map until now. In Berlin, 2 schools closed. In many regions, supermarket shelves that usually contain certain items are empty. Durable food and toilet paper are in high demand. So I think this is when the panic starts setting in, slowly but surely.
It sure looks that way. Let's see here, huh?
On March 4th, Wednesday, March 4th.
March 4th, okay.
The number of cases exceeds 260. Saxony-Anhalt is the only federal state not affected. More big events such as the Leipzig Book Fair are being canceled. The same applies to an anti-terror exercise in Berlin, where 6 coronavirus cases are confirmed and hundreds are in quarantine. 8 days after the second wave in Germany started. So an anti-terror exercise in Berlin was canceled. So Thursday, March 5th, it says within 2 days, the number of infected people in Germany more than doubled. In the evening of this day, it stands at 543. Berlin has 15 cases now. The federal states affected most are North Rhine-Westphalia, Baden-Württemberg, and Bavaria. I think more cases are being confirmed because more people are taking tests. I'm sure there were plenty of people who would have tested positive but never had a chance to take the test. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And at this point, how many people were reported to be confirmed?
543.
543.
It doubled in 1 day.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. On March 6th, which is a Friday, it says, now 15 days after the second wave hit Germany, the number of confirmed coronavirus cases exceeds 600. The number tripled within 48 hours. All but one federal state are affected. The largest one, North Rhine-Westphalia, has 300 plus virus patients. Health Minister Jens Spahn tells Germans to refrain from going there. March 7th, it says that the coronavirus infections are still on the rise. By now, 800 individuals in Germany are infected. The economical impact is starting to show also. March 8th, which is a Sunday, 12 days after the second coronavirus wave hit Germany, the number of confirmed cases exceeds 1,000. The first German citizen dies of a COVID-19 infection during a stay in Egypt. One police officer is among the 28 official coronavirus cases in Berlin. The police department says he had gotten infected during his free time. 35 of his colleagues are now in quarantine, just in case. The 9th of March, which is a Monday, it says the numbers are going through the roof. More than 1,150 people are infected in Germany. The coronavirus affects everything. The DAX, D-A-X, capital D, capital A, capital X index slumps in Frankfurt, which is actually, the DAX is a German stock exchange. Health Minister Spahn wants events for more than 1,000 people canceled. On March 10th, 2020, which is a Tuesday, it says by Tuesday evening, 1,317 people in Germany are infected with COVID-19. Chancellor Angela Merkel says authorities all over Germany should persistently fight the virus, and all non-existential events should be canceled. At this stage, there is no national rule for events with many people. Berlin closes its opera, concert halls, and theaters. Other federal states, such as Bavaria, are taking a similar approach to slow down the spread of the virus. Angela Merkel says 60 to 70% of all Germans would be infected with the coronavirus.
Well, I thank you for that, Miss Chancellor. Can you say that again? The Chancellor, Angela Merkel, says
60 to 70% of all Germans would be infected with the coronavirus.
Not possibly, not may, would be. Would be means is definitive. That's a definitive context there.
So I guess we should be happy we're not German.
I guess so. I mean,
because she said specifically Germans, not people who live in Germany.
I'm wondering how she was able to foresee that, to scry that in advance, which I certainly hope doesn't happen. But with that being definitive, perhaps it's a typo, because how in the world would she be able to know that? 70%, 60 to 7%, that is a massive number when you're talking about the total populace of the country.
Right. Well, supposedly before she was talking, she had discussions with experts, whoever that they may be. They obviously told her something that made her be quite sure that that was going to be the case. On March 11th, which is a Wednesday, Chancellor Merkel says, we need to pass the test. During a press conference, she talks about measures that Germany and Europe are taking and about priorities. It is all about protecting people, she states. Germany on this day also reports a third coronavirus death. Germany and the European Union are determined to fight the virus. For that purpose, they are putting a lot of money on the table.
And I would like to mention on the famed or infamous day of March 11th, that was the same day that WHO, the World Health Organization, released a press conference and described the COVID-19 problem as a pandemic, which means that it was international now, an international problem that was viral. It was spreading.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, March 11th. And then on March 12th, which you'll be moving to next,
Yeah, they had the director from WHO of the European sector talk to Germany and the other EU countries about that, also declaring it a pandemic. But the 11th of March was the first time that happened.
Frankfurt American Alumni Radio.
We're now on March the 12th, Thursday, and it says number of coronavirus infections hits 2,100 in the late morning. President Steinmeier cancels appointments at Berlin's universities. At Berlin's universities, the start of the next semester is also being postponed. Hamburg announces new rules for events. Lufthansa and Europe's other airlines are forced to deal with Trump's new travel ban. And on this day of March 12th, Thursday, the coronavirus cases was over 2,100.
Wow.
As of today, according to an email I got from the American consulate here in Frankfurt, today is supposedly, which surprised me because the airport is pretty much closed the last few days. Today was absolutely the last day you can travel to the United States for who knows how long.
So until further notice.
Yes, because today's the 28th of March. And according to the email, the last day was the 28th.
You are a person that works at the international airport here in Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And your team, your company has furloughed you or
yes, exactly,
temporarily laid you off, or whatever it is, the diction that you want to use. For those who are not in the know about the Frankfurt International Airport here in Hessen, it is Hessen's, our county's largest employer. So with that in mind, just imagine what is going on with the economy when you have so many industries that are tied into one another, and there's so many people who are actually not working. I don't even see how this will the situation will be able to be jump started afterwards, to be revitalized, to be shocked back into working order, if you will. You know, I mean, this is massive. This is gigantic.
Yeah, well, this is why they made this 156 billion coronavirus package to help do that, to help keep companies from folding, smaller companies, and to help larger companies from folding. At the moment, you cannot be evicted from your apartment if you can't pay rent. You know, they can't evict you by law now from your apartment. And people who are on furlough, they're not getting, most of them aren't getting their full pay, you know. It's usually 60% of your pay. So if you are highly dependent on the other 40% that you're going to be missing while you're on furlough, if your company, like my company, has cut me off for approximately the next 2.5 to 3 months, till end of June, approximately. I could go back earlier. It's all up in the air. But if you're dependent on that 40%, you know, that's a lot of money for a lot of people. 40% of their check, you know.
Yep.
And if you don't have savings, then that could really hurt you a lot.
Yep.
You're home all day, have nothing to do, and you can't even like spend money on the internet. You got to count your pennies. You know?
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm on March 13th. Friday, March 13th. In a dramatic development, the number of infected persons jumps to 2,700 in the morning and to more than 3,100 in the afternoon. Germany's largest federal state, North Rhine-Westphalia, has more than 1,000 cases, which is what the entire country had only 5 days ago. So the entire country had 1,000 cases, and now, 5 days later, one state has 1,000 cases. So Chancellor Angela Merkel says she wants to save lives and keep the economy going. On Saturday, March 14th, the corona cases were 4,181. And it says, on Saturday evening, the number of confirmed cases exceeds 4,000. Chancellor Merkel announces a new cabinet committee that will take decisions for the safety and health of the people. In most federal states, most schools and kindergartens close. On Tuesday, Berlin's clubs and bars will be forced to shut down. Governing Mayor Michael Müller asks Berliners for their understanding. Everyone will feel the restrictions. This phase is very important. I am asking you for solidarity, especially with elderly people, Müller says.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that he mentioned with the elderly. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that we have to emphasize and highlight is what people should consider doing, if anything, outside of, self-quarantining or practicing social distancing, is help out the elderly.
March 15th, Sunday, 2020, the number of infected people in Germany approaches 6,000. Germany's Interior Minister, Horst Seehofer, announces the closure of the country's borders to Luxembourg, France, Switzerland, Austria, and Denmark. This measure will kick in on Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central Eastern Time. Deliveries, commuters, returning Germans, and returning individuals with residence permits have the right to enter the country, though. Berlin and other federal states come up with new measures that are supposed to slow down the development. Berlin forbids events with 50 or more people. More businesses, even casinos and brothels, are forced to close. There are exceptions for restaurants.
But most restaurants are closing by 6 o'clock, except for those that are delivering and for those who are providing takeaway.
Yeah, that's now. But I think on March 15th, it was a little more loose,
I see.
Because we are still 2 weeks back, So on Monday, March 16th, 2020, the number of infected hit 7,000. Bavaria discusses a disaster situation, and Chancellor Merkel announces new measures, including the closure of churches, shops, casinos, and sports clubs. She says the federal states would implement the new rules soon.
I think Bavaria may have, I think Bavaria declared a disaster situation.
You mentioned that to me.
Well, yeah, they declared, not discussed.
So Tuesday, March 17th, 2020, of course, Berlin announced a special hospital for coronavirus patients, which the city-state will set up in cooperation with Germany's armed forces, the Bundeswehr. It will have 1,000 beds. Foreign Minister Heiko Maas announces efforts to retrieve stranded German tourists from abroad. For this concerted action, Germany allocates 15 million euro. The Robert Koch Institute increases the health risk level for people in Germany from moderate to high. The director, Professor Lothar Wieler, says there are alarming signs from hospitals in Germany, according to which more and more coronavirus patients with severe disease processes were being treated. Bavaria's First Minister Markus Söder says Germany should react and decide more quickly in the coronavirus crisis. So on Wednesday, March 18th, Angela Merkel tells the Germans this crisis was the biggest challenge since World War II. It was imperative to adhere to the rules and keep distance. Berlin is very quiet in the city center in the morning, but hundreds of Berliners meet at parks in the afternoon. Nobody seems to care or keep any distance to anyone. Shortly after 1 p.m., the number of infected people in Germany hits 10,000 and skyrockets to 12,000 in the evening. In several parts of Germany, strict new measures designed to curb the virus spread are kicking in. Germany has become a high-risk country in Europe as the number of infected persons is expected to exceed 10,000 people today.
Yes, and all the while not offering anything that people can do except for wash your hands, but nothing to strengthen the immunity system. Absolutely amazing.
Also on that day, Volkswagen ceases its production. And it says the industry is in deep trouble.
Yes, I can imagine.
It was already in trouble before that day.
Well, with these companies being multi-billion-dollar companies or billion-dollar companies, some of them are multi-billion, it always amazes me how quickly they go under. How fragile the economic structure actually is.
It's like, where do the profits go?
Yeah, it's like, what in the world are you talking about?
There's
They've been in, for example, Volkswagen's been in business probably over, I would say, since at least the 30s or 40s, 1930s, 1940s.
On March 20th, Friday, 2020, it says the number of infected individuals increases more rapidly every day. It doubled since Monday, which was a 5-day time span, tripled within 5 days, and quintupled within a week. Freiburg is the first city to restrict its residents' freedom of movement. The measure is supposed to come into effect on Saturday, which is the 21st of March. A few hours later, Bavaria announces a curfew that will take effect also on the 21st of March. The Saarland will likely follow suit. So on Saturday, March 21st, 2020, it says in the late morning, the number of people infected with the coronavirus in Germany hits 20,000. In Bavaria and Saarland, curfews kick in.
Do you know where these people are being assessed or tested, or where are these statistics coming from? The Koch Institute?
I would think the Robert Koch Institute, because they're like the CDC, you know. I would say, if that's a good comparison.
Okay, and so then they will have other regions that are testing people, sending in the statistics to the Koch Institute? Is that what you think? I'm just speculating on how this is being
I would think probably from hospitals and stuff, yeah. Because you're not allowed to, if you think you have the coronavirus, you're not allowed to go to your doctor and get a test because of the other people there in the office. So I'm not quite sure how it works. I have seen one article with a picture where they had like a drive-through for getting the test done, you know. I've seen that in the States, but I've also seen that for here. But I'm not quite sure how that's working.
Where was this drive-through at that you're...
I don't remember. Somewhere in Germany, though. So on the 22nd of March, Angela Merkel announces a contact ban that is supposed to come into effect on the 23rd. It was agreed to by her government and all 16 federal states. Afterwards, Merkel herself needs to go into quarantine. The Berlin government is setting up aid programs for tenants, parents, and businesses. For these projects, Germany will go into more debt. There is talk about 150 billion euro. As the number of corona cases keeps on skyrocketing, Chancellor Angela Merkel and the first ministers of Germany's 16 federal states will gather online this afternoon in order to talk about further measures they might take. Curfews in all states are possible. So far, Bavaria and the Saarland have taken steps of this kind. So on the Monday, the 23rd of March, 2020, which was last Monday, it says as the contact ban kicks in all over Germany, the numbers are still on the rise. There might be one glimmer of hope, though, for the first time since it started. According to the Robert Koch Institute in Berlin, the number of cured Germans is rising. But it is hard or even impossible to track that number reliably because hospitals and doctors are not required to report healed patients.
Which makes no sense to me. But so
No,
it's
me neither.
5 days now. It's 5 days now that we've had the contact ban in effect, which kicked in all over Germany. Okay. God, it seems like so much longer.
Yes, and it doesn't make no sense. Why not mention the healed people, the cases that are healed? Because that's how you keep track of what's going on better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And on that day, I just want to mention, because I
Really
don't
weird.
think I did, it's 29,000 plus cases on last Monday, the 23rd of March.
So that went up about 3,000 in one day. Something almost about three grand.
Yeah.
All right.
Then-
From the previous day.
Then on Tuesday, March 24th, the cases are 30,000 plus. And it says German hospitals in 3 federal states, namely Rhineland-Palatinate, Saarland and Saxony, are treating corona patients from France and Italy. Yeah, they've had these patients being sent in from France and Italy to be treated here in Germany, which is very generous because it's like, why would you want to get more infected people in your country? On
Strange.
March 25th, the cases are at 33,900. Last Wednesday, 33,900. So as the number of cases keeps on rising, the Berlin Bundestag, that's like the Congress, was going to vote on Vice Chancellor Olaf Scholz's giant corona aid package worth 156 billion euro, which is $169 billion. More federal states, including Berlin, say they want to have more Italian virus patients treated at their hospitals. On Thursday, March 26th, it says Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier stresses that solidarity was important within Germany and in Europe. Berlin's governing mayor Michael Müller vows Berlin would fight for every life. For now, the number of infected persons keeps on rising in spite of the nationwide contact ban. The government and virologists involved in big decisions are hoping for an effect that might show within days. The increasing number of COVID-19 deaths is alarming. Out of the 206 patients who died since the crisis began, 49 died on Wednesday. So on Friday, March 27th, there's 44,400 plus coronavirus cases. And it says a quarantined Chancellor, Angela Merkel, says it was too early for discussions about ending the contact ban put in place on Monday. She contradicts her own Chancellery minister who had said young Germans would be allowed to be back on the streets first. The Berlin government's pickup endeavor for stranded German tourists around the world continues. On a flight from Lima to Frankfurt, the Germans brings along 27 Israeli tourists who were in the same situation. The number of corona-related deaths in Germany is now increasing rapidly, and this is from yesterday.
And Lima is South America, yeah?
It's in Peru.
Okay, South America.
Yes, yes. So now we're up to today, and this has been reported on at 6:30 this morning. And what time do we have now? We have...
Almost 15 minutes after 3
Okay, so this is...
in the evening.
All right.
Or afternoon, I should
So
say.
this is about from 6 hours ago. It says number of cases exceeds 50,000 in the early morning. By 10:40 this morning, more than 53,000 infections and 395 deaths are confirmed. Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is in quarantine herself, sends an audio greeting to the nation and asks people to keep following the rules while Germany's armed forces are getting ready to help out with 15,000 soldiers. What are the soldiers going to do? I heard about that actually on the radio. They're supposed to, I'm going to answer my own question. They're supposed to help out in areas where people are needed, like in hospitals and things like that, and help out also with equipment and masks and gear. So that was the chronological order of events.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, for anyone wondering what has been the directives for Americans over here, according to what's official, then I have a document here from the Berlin Embassy. It's a health alert on the U.S. Embassy from Berlin as of March 27th, 2020. And it says here, U.S. citizens who are considering travel to the United States are urged to make arrangements immediately by commercial means. Direct flights from Munich to the United States will end on Saturday, March 28th, 2020, which is today, until further notice. There are still direct flights to the United States, however, from Frankfurt and through connections in Amsterdam, Paris, or London. All U.S. citizens should have a travel plan that does not rely on the U.S. government for assistance. For U.S. citizens who have chosen to remain in Germany, the German government is sharing up-to-date information in English regarding the coronavirus, EU travel restrictions, and border controls, and official statements which can be found on the website. They conclude here that effective March 16th, 2020, the embassy in Berlin and the consulates general in Frankfurt, Germany, and Munich have suspended routine consulate services. Therefore, for emergency American citizen services, including emergency passports, please contact the embassy or appropriate consulate general. Well, with that said, I guess what I want to do before I get off the mic, Lynn, is I want to wish everyone the best of health. I'd like to also encourage everyone to do your own research during this time frame to bring more knowledge to the populace in general, since we have social media and we still have the ability to use our cell phones and stuff. At least that type of stuff has been taken away as far as being able to contact each other, stuff like that, as well as be sure to keep your immunity system at its optimum level.
Right.
That's not something that seems to be interesting to the pharmaceutical companies, to the officials, for whatever reason. I wish that they were popularizing the notion of keeping your immunity system at its top level, just like they are popularizing the notion for people to keep their hands clean, for people to cough into the crease of their arm when they cough, or all the other things that they've talked about. You know, wash your hands for, what do they say, about a minute?
Yes.
You know, something like that.
I heard it was 30 seconds, which is awfully long for most people to wash their hands.
Why not talk about the diet? Why not talk about intravenous vitamin C? I guess we should do a show, Lynn, about what could be solutions and alternatives in which people, you know, can be a part of the things, regimes, health regimes people can start doing. It's also fun. It takes your mind off of...
Yeah, you have more time now to do these things, you know.
Yes, absolutely. In the information description area will be links, and I want to keep mentioning that because when I take the time, along with Lynn, to compile them, we always hope people go and check them out. And this has been the Frankfurt American Alumni Radio Show. It's been quite some time since we did one of these little broadcast things, but since we have a bit more time, and since I know many of you are interested in what's going on in your European home away from home, I think we'll be doing at least, let's just say, 1 to 2 per week. But of course, it won't be as long as this one was. This was something that we just wanted to do with the Milcom fam, with the alumni, with just relaxing and talking to you as if we were in the same room or something like that. At least that's what I hope came across. And thank you for joining us. And Lynn, is there anything you'd like to
I would like to wish everybody good health and stay sane. There's plenty of things you can do in your own home to keep yourself busy. And I hope we get to make a podcast again very soon. Frankfurt American Alumni Radio.